inside the car. This is what it looks like with the handle out. And if you just peek down right here by your leg, you can thread the handle in. And it clears right here, so there's plenty of room to grab and pull. It locks up really nice. Tested it. So in a daily driver, you know, it really isn't in the way. It's kind of annoying when you're grabbing the key and stuff, but for the most part, it's really not in the way, but it is removable and you can just drive the car around without it. Oh, that's the install. Let's show you how I did it. We're working on the race car again today. So, I'm kind of in the middle of another project that I'm not filming. I just got done reinforcing the subframe. There's a few really good videos about it out there already. Welded in some plates. Getting in our brace so that it's all tied together. Really great products from Parts Shop Max that help us do that. I need to clean out the back seat, excuse me. We'll have to do that here in a minute. But we have a hydro handbrake here. Excuse the dirty floor. I just barely pulled the seat out of this. So this is a Odessa CNC from Poland. Hydro handbrake reverse mount. Now, we're trying to see if we can tuck this. This is the one that the handle comes off of. And we're going to see if we can tuck this unit back up behind here and delete the cigarette lighter and just gut that whole thing. It's already cut out for the cooler work shifter. So because I already had this kind of apart, because you have to drop the handbrake cables down when you do the rear subframe, I'll just walk you through how this comes apart real quick. So as per usual, you just pull the trim out here, and there's a couple bolts or screws right here that you take out, and then this piece lifts, and then back here you've got an ashtray that sits down in there that's just held in with a couple pop clips, and you pop those pop clips out, this whole thing lifts out, and there's a couple screws. Once you get those screws, then there's a back trim piece. Oh, excuse me. I think you pop the you pull the, I misspoke, sorry. So this is layered like this. So this, I believe there's a couple, I don't remember if the pop clips are in there or not. You'll be able to see. You either pull this out and then there's pop clips, or there's pop clips, then you pull it out. And then there's a couple screws in here once you get this off. Now the way this comes off is you just kind of have to pry it away from both sides of this that clips on. And once you do that, it'll lift out of there once you get the screws out of the bottom. And then once everything's apart, then this whole thing will lift up. And you just lift it kind of back, up, and hard to do with one hand, but you're just going to slide it up and over this. So I didn't take it all the way out. I just needed to get it gapped enough so that I could get these out, but we might end up taking it all the way out for this next part. Part of doing the handbrake install is we are going to do an ABS, mechanical ABS delete with a chase bays, line relocate, and bias valve. And I'll show you that here in a second. And then we're using the chase bays, we're using the chase bays hydro handbrake pass-through kit, so it does not require a secondary caliper. It uses it just reruns the lines to the back, passes through the handbrake, Downside to that, you can't use your foot brake and your handbrake at the same time, but pretty rare occasion when you would need to. So for now, just to get me sliding, we're doing the pass-through kit. And all of this kind of has to come out. The bottom back seat comes up because those lines run under the carpet right here and then into the trunk, and they will pass through the floor in the trunk and out the bottom and connect to the calipers from there. So pretty big project, not huge, not as big as the rear subframe. The rear subframe out and welding and bushings and all that was a pretty big project in and of itself, but we have to sure up the rear end so that nothing breaks or tears loose while we're sliding. So handbrake. So yeah, next step, I'm going to take all this apart. Once this is up, there's a couple plugs down here you're going to unplug, get this out of the way, and then I'll show you how to get these two pieces out. Now that this is out, and I got this center console out, like I said, you just have to lift up real careful around this, and then you just twist this a little bit of an angle, fish it through the hole. You have to lift up on your e-brake to get the right angle there, but that whole center deal will come out. There is a plug-in on it. I'm just going to probably leave it plugged in for now. It doesn't really matter. You could unplug it if you want. This center console's got a couple plugs in it that we undid, and there's two screws up here that hold this piece in, and then the top piece here, you just grab it and you just really firmly tug, and this pocket will come out. And then there is a couple more screws right up here. You're going to grab those two screws out, and then this whole piece will come out of there. Okay, now that those two screws are out, we can just grab this and you kind of flip it upside down, and there's a couple plugs that you have to undo. You got your cigarette lighter, and then there's a main plug that controls all this that you have to undo. I know for the bias valve install and to get the line inside the cab that this under tray here is going to have to come off. Comes off pretty simple. You got a pop clip over here, you got a few screws along the way, and then there's some clips up in here that you just grab with a flat head and kind of pry away. Oop. Yeah, or sometimes you can get away with just snatching them. I've had mine off lots of times. And then right back here, there's this guy that you turn quarter turn and it comes out, and then this whole thing should come towards you. Then there's a few plugs you gotta take care of once you have it down, and I'll show you those. Okay, so your radio plug, you just kind of wiggle it and it'll come out. I think the same with the light. And then this one, you're going to want to open your diagnostic port from the bottom. And then there's this gray lock here that you slide back. You might have to use a screwdriver. But you basically just slide that lock back like so, and it lines up, and then you can just push it up from the bottom and it'll come out of there like so. Then you can take this whole piece, and that gives you full access to underneath. Pulled this carpet back here, and I cut it kind of right down in here so that I could pull it back. And I made myself a little bracket. I don't know if you can see. Sorry, there's paint marks from where I was marking, but I bent myself a little not square bracket. And originally I was thinking trying to get the most straight pull possible, and having it kind of stick out, but I think I'm going to run into issues with the steering wheel, putting it there. And so I've kind of been playing with some geometry, and I think that tucking it back about there, although the geometry is slightly tilted towards the passenger seat, it still pulls pretty naturally. Once I have it bolted down, I'll show you, but it still pulls pretty naturally, even being tilted slightly, as this console is kind of tilted slightly. And that's going to give me plenty of clearance, as you can see there, for pulling between the steering wheel and everything else that's going on. I know a lot of guys just cut this out and weld it in here. I'm trying my best to keep as much of the interior intact as possible. And so this is going to be my solution. Once the carpet goes back and this is all trimmed up, I'll probably re-drill this and trim this bracket back so that it's as low profile as possible. And I'll just trim the carpet to tuck around this handbrake. It'll still come off, the handle will still come off, be not intrusive for if I'm driving it on the street or anything like that. So I think that's probably going to be my best bet for now. Next step is we need to run our brake line out and under this carpet here. I'm going to run it down this side right here, and it's going to pop up under the back seat and go into the trunk where we're going to have our bulkheads. Excuse the sun there, making this difficult. So the first part is just pull on the bottom here. It's just held in by some clips, so you just give it a tug on both sides, and then this this seat bottom will slide out of there. I'm going to use both my hands to do that, and then I'll be back, and then we'll try to snake our brake line under the carpet safely here. Now that the back seat is out, we will be able to see and be able to get underneath the carpet here. One point I wanted to make, if you are running a reverse style handbrake, make sure to tell Chase Bays or whoever that you're doing that, and they include this little jumper hose here, as I think that theirs is set up to go more in this area, and so they give you just a little bit more hose so that if you're mounting it forward at all, there's a little bit extra there. So yeah, we're gonna basically fish that long hose under the carpet here. We're gonna try to just separate some of this carpet, and I'm gonna try to tuck it just right along this edge here and pop it up inside here, and then we'll probably end up connecting them somewhere right in here. Okay, so we have our longest line with 2 straight ends on it. That's the line that's going to go from here to the trunk. If you have a little rubber cap or something, it's a good idea to run that on there if you're going to be jamming it through the carpet and everything, just to try to keep debris from getting in your lines. I'm going to use this same rubber cap when I go through the firewall and everything like that, just to keep everything clean. So if you kind of just lift up on this, this will give you some access. I'm thinking I'm just gonna try to just run it right along this edge right here and up. Alright, just a quick note here, you will need something to fish. This is real thick foam here, so I'm using a flexible claw grabber. I don't have my fish tape with me, but hard wire or something semi-rigid that you can fish through from this side. I reached down with some needle nose to grab because it's going to come out low, and then pulled this up. So now I'm going to attach our hose, probably use some electrical tape or zip ties or something to attach this, and then carefully pull it up through here. We've got our lines routed, so this line comes under here, got the union in there. Once I get this all tight, I'll tuck it down in there kind of deep right along that edge so that it doesn't interfere with this handbrake. It's coming out right over here, And then next, in the trunk, there is the release for your back seats. So we will run that down and then up, and it's going to come right through here, and it's going to come through the floor right here, right behind the seat here. Our line is routed up through here. It's tight. I've tucked it down in here. It's got plenty of room. I kind of cleared out some of the foam so it'd sit flush. Comes up, out, and then right into the trunk. All right, so there's two sizes of fitting here. So we've got the bigger ones, they're 13 mil, and the smaller ones are 11 mil. So just make sure that you get everything tight. They are AN fittings, so don't just go crazy and over tighten them. You kind of have to get a feel for it. You just tighten them up until they're tight. Nothing too special about it. I went, just kind of made a curly Q there. I went up on the outside of the carpet and just behind here, and then it just popped it out, and then I kind of tucked it in the carpet there, and then behind here, and instead of going up through the DME box hole right here and having to deal with drilling a hole or whatever on the outside, the clutch line already comes through a grommet right there. So I ended up just fishing it right through that same grommet, which I think will work out really well. And then, yeah, just tucked it in the carpet there, give myself some slack and keep it away from some stuff, and I think it'll be happy there. Got the carpet all trimmed around it. It's not the cleanest looking thing, but I think for the most part, it tucked in there really nice. I might come in and with something black and just try to fill in some of these edges just to make it a little bit prettier. So underneath the car, there's a couple grommets, and if you pop the grommet out, there's a little bit of underlayment that you can poke a screwdriver through, or a big nail or something, so that you can get a reference from inside. I'm going to try to come through probably either here or over here, just so that I'm not fighting these hoses here. Well, this one's pretty flexible. I'll probably just try to come out a couple inches right in front of this grommet right here. And on the other side, the reason it's really important to see where you're at is because you've got your fuel filler neck here, and if you just drill blindly, you might hit this. So the grommet is right here on this one, and so if we kind of make it symmetrical with the other side and just come, you know, 1.5 to 2 inches in front of this grommet, then we'll be able to avoid all that and still be able to get a wrench on our fitting and everything like that. So here in the trunk, might be easier to access with the seats down if you don't have a harness bar. I have a harness bar, so my seats don't come down all the way. We've got our line that comes up from the out on the handbrake and comes into this T here, and then it loops back around into these fittings here. Now these fittings are bulkhead fitting. They're designed to come through the floor. Here is our screwdriver that I poked up through the floor. This is underneath this other mat. So once this is all together, the mat will come down and cover all this. So with our reference point, it shows me I want to be kind of roughly here. So we're gonna go for it and just pop a hole through the floor there, roughly 1 inch or 1.5 to 2 inches right in front of that grommet, and just be real careful as you come through that you don't nick any of those lines underneath. And then we'll repeat the process on the other side so that we don't hit that fuel filler neck. This is a 10mm drill bit. Find something that is close to your bulkhead fitting without going over, because this lip right here is what holds that against the top, and then there's a nut that comes with it from the bottom. Okay, so we got our hole drilled. Pretty good rough guess, came out right between those two lines where we wanted it to. If you're a little bit close, this one's pretty flexible, and this one you can just push over a little bit. It's bendable. So once that's through, we're gonna thread on the nut that comes with it and get it tight against there, and then we'll be able to attach our caliper line from there. I'm gonna replace the grommet, put the grommet back in its hole, and so it's all sealed up, and we'll move to the other side. Okay, so we got our nut on the back side of this. It is sheet metal that it's coming through, and that flange on the top's not super big, so don't go crazy and over torque it, but you know, just get it tight, get it nice and snug so it's not going to go anywhere. But now we're ready. That's ready to accept the AN fitting line. Okay, passenger side. I did. You gotta be real careful when you're pushing this through. As you can see, it kind of skimmed that. I already checked the threads; they're good. It just kind of rubbed the black paint off, but pretty happy with where that landed. Gonna give me a good access point. We're not in danger of puncturing anything when we drill through. So yeah, just use that grommet as a guide. You could even come forward a little bit more if you care. But that's on, and the other side's on, and now we can run it down to the calipers. Okay, so in the trunk, we are through the floor. In a lot of the pictures, I see them putting them a little bit further forward, which would totally be fine. You could go forward more. I just wanted to make sure with my reference, so I'm pretty happy with where mine landed. Obviously, we're going to make sure everything's nice and tight. And then the beautiful thing is that once the carpet is down, it'll be nice and clean in there. So obviously you have to be aware that that's under there, so you're not putting anything up there. But with the frame brace that's already in here, not very many things are going to be getting put up this far forward in the trunk anyway. So yeah, just make sure all your fittings are tight, and then we'll connect the calipers. And alright, so you're just gonna have to see what fits on yours better. For me, I kind of found that I was able to get a pretty good clearance by coming through the control arm here. Hopefully that doesn't become a rub issue. I might put something around it there, some loom or something, I'm not sure. I guess we'll run it for a few days and see if it's contacting. And then I just loosely put a zip tie here just to kind of keep it in place so it doesn't try to walk back into this or anything. But that is how I did mine. Not quite long enough, unless you yeah, I don't see how it would be long enough to come the factory route regardless of where you drill your hole. So I think it worked out. I think it'll be fine. I think the other side we might have to do something similar. So we'll get this all tightened up and go over there. Okay. So I still got to tighten up the calipers. I just barely put them on, so ignore the loose bolts there. But basically did the same thing on both sides. So came like so, give myself some room for the axle. I'm going to secure this one here lightly. And then I came up and through. I made myself some insulators that I'll probably just throw a dab of super glue on or something just to hold in place as they go through the control arm there. So did the same thing on both sides, and she's pretty much ready to go. Just got to tighten up the calipers and make sure all of our fittings are tight, and give this thing a good bleed and see if our handbrake works. And obviously we're going to check for leaks everywhere, and then we'll put all of our paneling back on. After driving this thing a little bit, this is it's got quite a bit of movement in it. So kind of your natural pull wants to come a little bit too forward, and it wants to hit the steering wheel, even though it kind of should be pulling away from the steering wheel. So just something to keep in mind. I will probably have to build a bracket off the top of this cage that this sits in, and tie it up to the shifter mount underneath this, because I think that what I want is I want it to kind of sit over like so and be pretty solid, especially if I'm going to be ripping on this thing. I want it to be away from the steering wheel, and I don't want there to be any mistaking what direction it should have, and I think it's just a little bit too flimsy with that one bracket underneath. So I'm going to tie it in from underneath and on top. Probably not going to make a video for that, so I can get the rest of this video edited and out, but just something to keep in mind. You know, sit in the car, feel the car, drive the car, and you might need to make some adjustments with whatever bracketry or whatever setup you're going to set up in your car. If you use this style, great. If you use a different style, it's really just all about your comfortable spot and where you're going to be sitting to make the handbrake worth it and work for you. You don't want to have any question when you're instinctually grabbing it. You don't want to be running into the back of your steering wheel or something like that. So I need to sure up this bracket just a little bit more, but I think it's going to be basically tilted over like so, and there'll be no movement in it by the time I'm done.